The chaotic civil war that followed the end of the Han Dynasty and preceded the Three Kingdom era was a time of incredible events and feats. In this troubled period, many spectacular events took place. One of the warlords of the times would live the greatest social ascension possible, going from weaving mats and making sandals to survive, to becoming an emperor. This man was Liu Bei. Before the country was divided into three kingdoms, China was in control of the Han Dynasty, the basis of Chinese identity, from its capital, Luoyang. The nation was divided into 9 main provinces, each subdivided into commanderies. In the year 161 AD, Liu Bei was born in Zhuo County, in the heart of the Zhuo Commandery, near modern-day Beijing. His family, although quite destitute, was an imperial scion linking back to Emperor Jing of Han, the 6th emperor of the Han Dynasty. This was, however, over a century ago. It is rumored that Emperor Jing's grandson, Liu Zhen, failed to pay the imperial tribute. Consequently, he was stripped of his noble title, condemning the Liu family to financial hardship for the future. The Liu family had lived in Zhuo County ever since. Liu Bei's grandfather and father had served as clerks in the commandery, a job enough to provide, but not to prosper. When he was still a boy, his grandfather and father died, leaving him and his mother alone. In order to survive, they sold sandals and straw-woven mats. Life was difficult. In Liu Bei's neighborhood, a huge tree of about 15 meters tall grew near his house, in the shape of an imperial chariot. Liu Bei regularly played with the other children around here. On one occasion, inspired by it, he declared before all that he would one day ride the imperial chariot as the emperor, proving from a very early age his ambition. Liu Bei's legacy was set. In 175, when Liu Bei was a teenager, his mother sent him to study under the administrator of the city of Jiujiang, a scholar named Lu Zhi, alongside another family member and another slightly older boy named Gong Sun Zan, who he admired and became friends with. Growing up, Liu Bei did not show much interest in his studies, enjoying music, hunting, and competing with other teenagers. He was described as often silent, but eloquent, always calm and kind to his friends. Such a behavior led him to be well liked by most in the community. But all was not well in the fading Han Dynasty. Political turmoil was reaching worrying amounts. Discontent within the peasants against the Han Dynasty increased over the years. Famines and floods were common, leading many in the population to believe that the dynasty had lost the mandate of heaven. Centralization of power in the hands of the eunuchs had increased in the last years. In 184, a full-scale rebellion known as the Yellow Turban Rebellion broke out. It was in this context that Liu Bei became politically aware. Whether it be in the optic of personal profit or obedience to the dynasty, the young man began raising a militia to help the authorities suppress the rebels. His task would be greatly facilitated when 2 rich merchants came to Zhuo County for business and, impressed with the determination of the young man, offered him financial aid. It is possible that it was at that time and his 2 most loyal followers joined him, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei. They would prove strong allies in the future. All was now set. The band was ready to fight. The young commander and his militia next headed to join Han Colonel Zhou Jing, serving under him to battle the Yellow Turbans. In one battle at Pingyuan, he was seriously injured and practically died. The rebels were however defeated. Several other battles probably took place, but soon after, as a reward for his efforts, the Han government appointed Liu Bei as prefect of Anxi County in the Zhongshan Commandery. There was however discord within the Han court, and an imperial decree soon overruled the previous, ordering the dismissing of all the minor officials who obtained their posts in rewards for the military efforts. Liu Bei, well informed and cunning, realized this would apply to him. When the official in charge of dismissing him arrived in Anxi County, where Liu Bei was now prefect, he tried to have an audience with him preemptively to negotiate. His request was however promptly denied, as the official claimed to be ill. Understanding that there was nothing left to do, Liu Bei and his loyal followers later returned to see the official, broke into his residence, and proceeded to tie him up and beat him. After begging for his life, he was spared. The Liu Bei militia left Anxi County and moved south to Xu Province in the south to continue fighting the Yellow Turban rebels, gaining fame, followers, and experience. In 189, the Han Emperor Ling died. Dong Zhuo, Chancellor of the state, jumped on the occasion to usurp imperial power through a puppet, the 8-year-old Emperor Xian. Dong Zhuo subsequently endorsed the rule of the state. As a result of this event, in the year 190, major warlords of each province gathered into a coalition to fight off the tyrant. This was the Guangdong Coalition. Historically, Liu Bei did not take part in the campaign against Dong Zhuo, though he may have raised troops for the occasion. The Guangdong Coalition failed to defeat the tyrant, but Dong Zhuo was assassinated anyway by his own men in 192. With a 10-year-old Xian emperor on the throne and powerful warlords in every province, the country inevitably descended into civil war. Liu Bei moved up north to join his old friend Gongsun Zan, with whom he had studied back in his teenage years. The man had become a prominent general, controlling large territory in the north of China. Seeking a lord to fight for, he decided to serve under him. Together, they fought against Warlord Yuan Shao, probably the most powerful general of the time, who rivaled with Gongsun Zan for control over Ji province. In 181, the two childhood friends inflicted a great victory on their enemy. This success led Gongsun Zan to nominate Liu Bei as governor of Pingyuan the following year, a task that he would take very seriously. He moved in with his small army. Reportedly, he was well liked by the population, so much so that when one of his subordinates, out of spite or jealousy, paid assassins to kill him, they could not bring themselves to do it and confessed the plot. It was also said that although an official, he did not hesitate to eat and sit alongside peasants. This was probably because he grew up in poverty. As a governor, he made sure to protect the population from bandits and directed intelligent economic measures, bringing prosperity in the region. War was, however, still raging in the country. Locally, two alliances of warlords formed, fighting each other: Gongsun Zan, Tao Qian, and Yuan Shu on one side, Yuan Shao and Cao Cao on the other. Tao Qian was the governor of Xu province. When his territory was attacked by Cao Cao in 194, he quickly called for aid in the alliance. Liu Bei, who still served under Gongsun Zan, answered and marched south to Xu province. Reportedly, he now commanded 100 riders, 1,000 warriors, and several thousand peasant soldiers. This reinforcement was not enough, as Cao Cao seemed to be on the road to conquer all of Xu province, but a rebellion within his own camp forced him to retreat. This was the work of Liu Bu, a treacherous but talented general, partly responsible for tyrant Dong Zhuo's demise. Tao Qian was safe for now. Liu Bei, deciding to stay in Xu province, changed his allegiance from Gongsun Zan to Tao Qian. The latter, happy to find a close ally, gave him an additional 4,000 soldiers and sent him to be posted in Xiaopei. Under his tutelage, Liu Bei would learn the Confucian way of ruling. The governor of Xu province, however, died in 194, leading to a power struggle between his sons and Liu Bei, who many judged fit to succeed the position. Although reluctant at first, knowing the situation to be very unstable, the consultation of many scholars and other warlords led him to finally accept to take over Xu province. Liu Bei had started a new chapter of his life. Meanwhile, to the west, Liu Bu, the man who had betrayed Cao Cao by rebelling, was starting to lose against him. He escaped east to Xu province to seek refuge under Liu Bei in 195. The new governor of Xu province accepted to host him in his capital of Xiapi. This would later prove to be a mistake. The year 196 marked a turning point for the Han dynasty. Warlord Cao Cao took the child Emperor Xian into the heart of his own territory, making the new capital city Xuchang, and subsequently increasing his authority over all other warlords. That same year, Liu Bei's territory was invaded by Yuan Shu. In response, Liu Bei naturally went to lead his troops, about 30,000 men, to counterattack, leaving his trusted follower Zhang Fei to administer the capital of the province, Xiapi. While he was away, Zhang Fei, who had a short temper, got extremely drunk during a banquet. In an intoxicated state, he got into a fight with one Cao Bao, the local chancellor, and killed him. As a result, order in the city collapsed. Liu Bu, treacherous as ever, jumped on the opportunity to federate defectors in the city's garrison, captured Liu Bei's relative, and seized the city for himself. Zhang Fei escaped and went to inform his leader of the events. Upon learning of the news, Liu Bei immediately headed back, losing a large part of his forces due to desertion along the way. He was unable to retake Xiapi and retreated south to Guanglin Commandery. There, he and his remaining men were besieged and defeated by Yuan Shu. The Liu Bei army then retreated to yet another area in Haixi County, completely outnumbered, surrounded, and starving. His forces had to resort to cannibalism to survive. Such a situation would have been the end for practically anyone, but Liu Bei was no ordinary person. After meticulously thinking, he decided to go back to Xiapi and surrender to Lu Bu. The traitor accepted, releasing Liu Bei's family, under the condition that Liu Bei help him resist Yuan Shu, who kept advancing, aiming to conquer all of Xu province. Liu Bei, now serving Lu Bu, was sent to Xiaopei, where he was able to raise 10,000 men thanks to his fame. Lu Bu, however, got concerned about the fact that Liu Bei was gathering so much power so rapidly. In fear that the man he had betrayed would attack him, he changed his mind and betrayed Liu Bei again by attacking him with all his forces in the optic of defeating him before he got too powerful. Liu Bei and his most loyal followers had no choice to escape and leave Xu province. They found refuge under an old enemy. Cao Cao, the warlord who now secretly controlled the court, holding the Xian Emperor in what was now the new capital of Xuchang, welcomed Liu Bei's group. Seizing the opportunity to gain a subordinate, Cao Cao appointed him governor of Yu province in 198, granting him an army of several thousand men. Liu Bei, now powerful once more and still holding views on Xu province, returned to Xiaopei with his new army. Lu Bu invaded, made peace and even allied himself with Yuan Shu. The allied force then besieged Liu Bei at Xiaopei, and once more Liu Bei was defeated. He returned to Xuchang, where Cao Cao, growing impatient with Lu Bu, gathered his own army to deal with the issue once and for all. Cao Cao and Liu Bei marched on Xu province and besieged Lu Bu at Xiapi in late winter 198. For weeks, Lu Bu held on, until Cao Cao, cunningly, decided to flood the city by diverting 2 rivers into it. In early 199, Lu Bu surrendered. Once held captive, Cao Cao considered recruiting him as a general, but his advisors reminded him that Lu Bu had betrayed every warlord he ever served. After consideration, Cao Cao ordered Lu Bu's execution.
弓箭手准备，放箭！
The traitor's story was over. Xu province was finally pacified. After these troubled events, Cao Cao appointed a new governor for Xu province, one Zhuo. He and Liu Bei then returned to the capital city of Xuchang. Liu Bei remained there for several weeks, where he was now stationed, under direct influence from Cao Cao, but wishing to remain as independent as possible, he longed for the opportunity to leave the city. This came rapidly. Yuan Shu, who had declared himself emperor 2 years earlier in an act of treason against the Han court, had led to the gathering of an enemy coalition against him. As he had just been defeated, he prepared to escape north to join his cousin, Yuan Shao. Using this pretext, Liu Bei requested Cao Cao to allow him to lead forces against the escaping Yuan Shu in order to intercept him. Leaving Xuchang, he and his men marched south. When Yuan Shu understood that his path was blocked, he turned around and died shortly after of illness. The mission was a success, but instead of returning to Xuchang, Liu Bei took the opportunity to free himself from Cao Cao's influence and take back Xu province. He ordered the generals loyal to Cao to return to Xuchang, while he and his men went to the capital of Xu province, where the new governor, Zhuo, who had been appointed by Cao Cao, ruled. Rapidly, Liu Bei killed the governor Zhuo and seized the province, re-establishing his authority in Xiapi, where he left his trusted general, Guan Yu. He then went with Zhang Fei to Xiaopei in order to secure his border with Cao Cao, who would certainly try to avenge this betrayal. As Yuan Shao, who had pacified the north, was preparing to fight Cao Cao, Liu Bei allied himself with him. Now, Cao Cao was surrounded by Yuan Shao in the north and Liu Bei in the east. He however knew Yuan Shao well. Counting on his defensive attitude, he launched his forces against Liu Bei instead in Shu province. Although Liu Bei defended himself the best he could, he lost Xiaopei again and had to escape, possibly alongside his follower Zhang Fei, although this is not certain. Xiapi, the city defended by Guan Yu, later also fell to Cao's armies. Liu Bei was defeated and Shu province was once more in control of Cao Cao. The mighty Warlord took Guan Yu into his service.
末将关羽拜见丞相。
快快请起，快快请起。我得关云长胜过10万雄兵。
Guan Yu, the giant red-faced warrior, knew the situation would only be temporary, but he agreed to follow Cao Cao. Meanwhile, Liu Bei and Zhang Fei escaped north to join their ally Yuan Shao. Cao Cao can now focus all of his troops to the north. As a better strategist, he successively defeated Yuan Shao in several battles. But as he was advancing away from his territory, a revolt against his rule led by bandits and Yellow Turban rebels broke out in Runan. Liu Bei, seeing the opportunity, urged Yuan Shao to lend him men so that he could go aid the rebels in Runan, while Yuan Shao would continue to hold the bulk of Cao Cao's forces. This was agreed. The Runan rebels alongside Liu Bei were able to kill one of Cao Cao's generals, making significant progress. However, as soon as the cunning warlord Cao Cao won a decisive victory at the Battle of Guandu, leading to Yuan Shao's death a few weeks later, he began sending all his forces back south to deal with the Runan situation. In early 201, the rebellion was crushed. Liu Bei had to escape again. It is believed that Guan Yu left Cao Cao's service to return to his friend around this period. Liu Bei and his friends and followers were now reduced to a tiny band of soldiers with no place to call home. As desperate as the situation may have seemed, Liu Bei was not ready to give up. Clinging on to the oath he had made as a child of becoming emperor, he went south, where he would find just what he needed to fulfill his oath. Thank you for watching my video, I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or requests, don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section below.